When I think back of how I started at the West Texas Food Bank, to be honest, it wasn't that I chose a career. And there was a group of us that literally thought, why are there hungry children in West Texas? And what are there? There's like 300 kids right now. Like, we can take care of this. You know, junior leaguers, like, we can do anything with a notebook. And so we started this group, this volunteer activity, which is Food to Kids, which is going to feed kiddos between Friday at lunch and Monday morning at breakfast. And I co-chaired the committee the first year and then chaired the committee the following year. We went from 150 kiddos to 600 within a year. We became our own 501c3. We got our first grant from Permian Basin Area Foundation. I mean, we did all these really great, amazing things, and the more we got involved, the more I got involved with Food to Kids and also with the West Texas Food Bank, it really hurt my heart because the West Texas Food Bank wasn't doing what I thought our community deserved, what our clients, deserved for hunger and education. And I ended up going from a volunteer position that I was really passionate about feeding babies, to getting to become the CEO of the West Texas Food Bank. I can think of a woman named Cindy Wheely. Her daughter was one of my best friends growing up in high school. Elizabeth and I are still really good friends today, but Cindy was kind of my mentor in junior league of Odessa, and she was one of the co-founders of Food to Kids with me, and she's the one who probably taught me a lot about organizations and fundraising and not being afraid to ask questions and not being afraid to think outside the box. I've had two personal experiences since I've been at the food bank. And one thing I always say about the food bank, it doesn't just fill a belly, it can fill your soul. My father passing during the middle of a construction project for the food bank facilities now, I truly found peace there. And it definitely helped me get through the death of my father, was the food bank. And it was concentrating on what this would mean to our community, and really focusing on that definitely helped get through that. It was a very awful experience, and I miss him every day. But the food bank really did help heal that part of my heart. Oh, the Instagram and body image issues and the filters, and then I also think just they think everything should be perfect. That's not. Nothing's perfect. So I think there's this, you've got to have the best grades, and you've got to be always smiling, and your family always has to be the happiest. It's what you see in your Facebook photos and the Instagram post, and that's not real life. So I feel like our girls are struggling with what reality really looks like and what our internet social media reality is, and how do they find a balance between being able to exist in that. I think that is a huge struggle, and I think they've got to be comfortable in their own skin, and I think some of that makes it really hard to be comfortable with who you are and to have a voice and know it's okay to be different, to march to the beat of your own drum. That's okay. You don't have to be like the shiny pictures on Facebook. But things I've learned through food banking and having to ask for money or for help is you've got to be willing to hear that you're wrong, and you need to be able to take criticism, and you have to grow from that, and that makes you better, and it'll make your staff better, it'll make your organization better, it will make your community better, and the clients we serve, it'll help them be better. So I definitely think that you have to admit you're wrong, but you also have to be able to ask for help. I think you need to be patient. I think you need to actually listen and hear what your staff is telling you, what your board is saying, and what your clients need. There's been lots of things I've been afraid of. I can think of the Farm Bill. You know, I was not a political science major. You know, I'm an English major from the University of Oklahoma. I don't have any legal training or reading bills or anything like that, but because Chairman Conaway chaired the Ag Committee, our old congressman for District 11, I was pulled into sitting on a committee called PEAK for Feeding America. It's public policy, and we kind of, there's 20 of us, and we're kind of guide what public policy the Feeding America network supports or advocates for. And I kind of got shoved onto this committee because of Chairman Conaway. And there was a time when Chairman Conaway asked for me to testify in front of the Ag Commission, which didn't probably really understand what that truly meant at the time. Kind of winged it, you know, like my eyeliner a little bit, you know, getting up to do that speech. But I was terrified. But all I could think of was like, I'm here for people who don't have a voice. And if I'm too scared to talk right now to these people that truly have influence on finding resources for people who have no access to food or don't have enough means to be able to get enough food to their families, if I don't do it, who will? For my kids to be happy. It's hard, and for me to be happy, with happy who I am, that maybe everything didn't work out how it should. It's not that Facebook pretty picture, but to be happy with my flaws and to be happy with my strengths, and hopefully my children raise them to be happy with what they feel like their strengths are, but also to be happy with their flaws, that we are good people, even if we're a little broken sometimes. But I think just to be happy.
My most valuable mentor is my husband, Bart. We've been married for 57 years. We were virtually children when we married, and he balances me, he understands me, and he helps to give me good advice while knowing full well that I may not follow it, and it's okay with him. And I think a good mentor sees your strengths, but is also able to see where you need to be bolstered. And Bart does all these things for me. He's fun, he's smart, he's analytical, and I'm more generalist. So he can look into anything that I'm facing and give me a different perspective and viewpoint on it, and I can trust him implicitly. I was a volunteer. I've been a volunteer my whole life in all different arenas, and it reached the point where the kids had gone to college, and I decided I wanted to go to work. So I based my whole work application on volunteer experience and wrote my resume and sent it out, and I was fortunate to find a nonprofit job that I just adored, and that was with Keep Midland Beautiful. And I'm still involved with them today, 30 years later. Yes, I have been terrified, but not for my life. I made the decision to run for city council. I had had leadership positions out the kazoos. I knew how to organize and educate. I knew how to gather information and to educate the people that volunteered. I had all sorts of skills and abilities. But running for a public office was the most difficult thing I've ever done. So the whole process of running for political office was a learning experience for me. And I learned first and foremost, you've got to gather friends around you that are going to support you and tell you that everything's okay. I don't like to speak about myself, so here I can talk for hours about the environment, about volunteer training, but I don't like to speak about Sharla. I had to sell myself in a way that I'd never done before. And all the time, while my fear was rejection. My fear was failure. But I made it through. I did win. And I embarked upon the grandest adventure. Serving on city council was wonderful. It was a learning experience, and it was also humbling. My brother was killed by a drunk driver. It was probably the lowest time in the life of my whole family, and particularly for my mother. And it was such a struggle for me to hold myself together to help her. I mean, I worried so much about her. And later I went to her and said, how did you make it? How did you get through that? Losing a child. And she said, I went to the earth. I went to the outdoors. I went to this garden, and I found God in the garden. She would get up in the mornings, go outside and start digging. And she said as long as she could hold that soil in her hand, it anchored her, and it helped her to find God. And I took that information from my mother. All of us in the family are gardeners. We all love to be outside. I mean, there's no place I'd rather be. But I think of my mother often when times are hard and I need more strength than I've got, and I can go outside and I can dig in the earth, and I know that God's there. When we talked about what girls struggle with today, I went to the authority. I went to my 17-year-old granddaughter. They are cautioned and told to make sure to use the buddy system to protect themselves. That it's still harder to break through the gender boundaries even today as a high school student. And FOM, the fear of missing out. She said this is to have good times. There's some times that you choose not to go because you might not be in a safe position, but that pressure's always there, the fear of missing out. And then the stigma. Would you rather be popular or the smart girl? So Elizabeth gave me a lot of good information, and I thought back to the Girl Scouts, things, the girls of courage, confidence, and character. And if we could get that more in the mainstream again, to be a Girl Scout, become one of these girls with character, is courage, because that's what they need. Be kind. Be kind, listen, and then I think one of the things we're losing right now is civility, being civil, honoring others' viewpoints. So I would hope that would be something that maybe we could gift to our children and to the children we work with. My mission in life, it's to help others. I mean, it's to help others. That's really what I like to do. I like to support the environment, and so that has been the focus of much of my nonprofit work. My greatest volunteer jobs, of course, are ones that I serve with other people, doing meaningful things that will have a long-lasting effect. So my purpose in life is to just try and do good as much as possible and wherever possible.
I've never limited myself to just one mentor, and I think that's important. I've had a lot of mentors along the way, a lot of supportive friends, just a network of people and friends and family cheering me on, and that is so important to have that support system. Growing up as a young girl, I was involved in Girl Scouts. I was involved in Girl Scouts, I'm going to date myself a little bit, before there were daisies. I started in brownies, and Girl Scouts really helped me realize some self-confidence. It's so easy not to always believe in yourself. It's difficult to reach and to find that self-confidence. And the small groups and the support and just the interaction and the learning opportunities in Girl Scouts and just the mission of helping every girl succeed, that really spoke to me, and it really helped me to find some courage, some confidence. So I attribute a lot of my development as I was a young girl to Girl Scouts, not just one mentor or one troop leader, but to Girl Scouts as a whole. I really believe in its mission. So how I selected my career in broadcast journalism. A lot of people in broadcast journalism and in news grow up dreaming of being in news, and I don't have that exact story. I wasn't in second grade pretending that I was a local news anchor dreaming of this for my entire childhood. I kind of happened into it, but it's still a beautiful progression of how it developed. I knew early on that I am a people person. I love people, I love interacting with people, I love talking to people, I love learning about people. I've always known that I have that in my heart. And so as I started college, I went to Trinity University in San Antonio. They had a local kind of closed circuit campus TV program, and I kind of fell into that and realized, wow, I love this. I love the idea of broadcast journalism. It combines all of my loves. It combines my love for people, my thirst for knowledge and information. It integrates my love for writing and storytelling, my love for presenting. It really checked all the boxes for me, and it was something that I just kind of found at college. But I very quickly realized I love this. I love storytelling. I love interacting and relating with people, and I've loved my career in broadcast journalism and working here in local news. It's truly an honor and a privilege. Being a leader is such a big word, right? But being a leader takes all different shapes and sizes. It is walked down in all aspects of your life. There is no one perfect leader. We all have leadership in us. Leadership is really about doing and being something bigger than yourself. It is about empowering others, it is about inspiring others, and it is about connecting with others. I think empathy is at the core of leadership, that ability to connect and relate with someone else, and then help inspire and empower them to do something bigger and better than their self. It's about connections, it's about relationships, and it's about doing what is right for the right reason. It's about helping others, about elevating others. Fears, I fear that I'm not going to be good enough, I'm not going to be successful enough, I'm not going to live up to expectations. That's a normal fear, and I think that that's a fear that many young women and many girls share. But the key is not giving in to that fear. My advice for a young woman in high school is, number one, be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be compassionate and exercise grace and mercy to yourself. And then also be kind to others. Kindness is contagious. If you are kind to yourself and kind to others, that is going to breed a community of kindness. And how wonderful is that? My other advice for young girls and young women in high school is to be brave and to be courageous. You have to reach beyond your comfort zone. You have to feel a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. You have to face your fears and kind of look beyond them, reach past them. And if you challenge yourself to always be brave, to always be courageous, you will always continue to find success, to find something that's a little more rewarding and enriching in your life. So don't be limited by your fears. Be brave, be courageous, and be kind. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. What is my mission in life? I try to always keep an open mind, but my mission at the end of the day is to try to make my community a little bit better than I found it. I want West Texas tomorrow to be better than it is today. I want our region to be better for our daughter, for future young women than it was when I moved out here. I want to always be striving to be better. And I think that that's such an important, ever-evolving, always changing mission, but that's still a guiding focus. You always want to be better, and you want your community to be better, and you want people around you to be better. If you help others succeed, everyone succeeds. First for me are family and faith. Those have to come first and foremost. Family is so important. We never know how long we're going to get on this earth. And so time is so precious, and I always want to choose to spend time with my family, to be with my family, to make sure that I am loving our daughter as hard and as amazingly as I can. She's the light of our life and is absolutely amazing, and I want to do everything I can to make sure she has an even brighter future than I was given. So faith and family come first. The other priority for me is community. We have to always be thinking about our community as a whole. What are we doing to help our community? What are we doing to lift up and empower and engage our community? We are all stronger if we work toward a more resilient, stronger, better, more engaged, more tight-knit community. And so I always try to put faith, family, and community first.
So I think for many of us, our parents are our first mentors, and frankly, they've continued to be my most influential mentors because, my father, again, I grew up with, fairly humble beginnings, and my father worked really, really hard to take care of family, and so I really learned from him the importance of family and working hard and, making a commitment and following through. And my beautiful mother was always the compassionate one, and she was always the one who, rooted for the underdog. And so I think I really learned my interest in others and, how their situations might be different from her, and my, desire to have an equal opportunity for everyone was really something I think that she was my greatest mentor. So as I started considering careers, I grew up in a farm community, and so my experience with professional degrees and all of this was very, very limited, and so it was very humbling to try to figure out what my path was. And so I know a lot of us struggle with that, and so I ended up getting my degree in accounting, and I enjoyed accounting and found that successful. But in many ways, I think for many of us, our careers end up finding us. And so I transitioned out of accounting and started doing work in community and charitable giving, and also working with the investors of the company that I worked for. So while my degree is in accounting and my beginnings are there, I evolved into something that was really much more creative and a little less regimented, and that's ended up suiting me really quite well, and has allowed me the freedom to get to really do a lot of work in community, and that's been fun. I think that being a leader at the end of the day, it's really about putting the bigger picture ahead of your own personal needs, and so the broader good of the whole is what leading really is about. It's the ability to let go of what I want and what I need, and to really think about the broader picture, and then inspire others along the way, encourage them to join in on what that greater good might look like, and get their buy-in. So to me, leadership is about that. It's about sometimes doing the hard thing, not the popular thing, because it's easy just to go with the flow, but most change doesn't happen by doing the popular, easy thing. It happens when you really dig in and you do the tough stuff. And sometimes that's unpopular, but having the self-confidence to do it anyway, I think is a really big, important part of leadership. So at one point in my career, I had a pretty big shift from working with folks that were like me, that also from West Texas, and that I grew up around, and things were similar. My job changed, and I had the opportunity to start doing a lot of work with folks on Wall Street, and so fish out of water for sure. And I really struggled with that because I really struggled with being worthy. I struggled with believing that I was enough to do such a big job and to work with people who had such broader world experiences and such, different backgrounds than me. And so I really struggled finding the self-confidence to do that and feel really worthy of doing it. I did, and I loved doing the work, but I think we all struggle sometimes with feeling like we're enough. And so that's really where that struggle came from. But that's something I think when we dig deep within ourselves and find our own kind of sacred voice and realize that we are enough, then we move through those struggles, and ends up being a great opportunity and a lot of fun, and something that I'm really grateful to have had that experience. Today, I can't imagine what it's like to be a young person today. I just think that we as a society have so many expectations, and there are so many channels all creating those expectations and judging those expectations and whatnot. So I can only imagine, and I would really want to talk to young people and hear from them. But I imagine that struggle is just in trying to be enough with all of those various perspectives that are coming at them. But I think that it's really important in that struggle and with all that noise and chaos is really to be able to listen to yourself and to know to have taken really the time to know who you are, know what you stand for, know your value, because I think many times we feel validated by others, but until we truly value ourselves, it doesn't stick. And I think that part of knowing yourself is really knowing your aptitudes, and taking the time to figure out what those things are, and not so much, what in my life can I do to be successful or to make a lot of money or to be famous, but rather what are my aptitudes? What are the gifts that God gave me? Because working with those aptitudes, I think, is always going to be the better path, the stronger path, and using those God-given gifts is just such a natural. And so in that regard, I would really encourage young girls and young women to think about what their aptitudes are and tilt the world in their direction. Rather than struggling with those things that maybe you don't do well, just tilt the world towards the things that you do well and let go of those things, because we don't all have to be everything. We really all can be good at a few things and find a way to make a difference with that. And so that would be, again, back to, know yourself, but also know what you're good at, and just, keep at it until you find that thing to do that allows you to really express those God-given gifts. And so I think, for me at this point in my life, my mission will continue to be to, find ways to use those gifts that God's given me and the blessings that I've had in the service of others for as long as I'm able to do that. I'm blessed right now with good health, and I look forward to continuing to find a way to love my family, to love my friends, but also have time and energy to think about others and how we continue to make the world a better place for everyone.